I'm in beautiful Whistler, British Columbia. I'm just heading over to the Leverage Women's Conference to talk about how to take the mystery out of mentoring and meeting amazing mentors who are making a difference in the world today. That's coming up.
You are seen, you are heard, you are loved by God. You're not alone, you're fully known, you are loved by God.
Well, welcome back to See Hear Love in beautiful Whistler, British Columbia at the Leverage Women's Conference. And I'm so excited that you have joined us, but I'm also excited that you have joined us. Oh, this is like the best crowd ever. And no offense to all the other crowds and studio audiences of them been with me at See Hear Love, but this is kind of the best. Well, you've joined us for part 2 of mentoring. And I'm so glad that we have Lisa Carpenter here with us, Jane Ngui Muema, and Dayna Olsen Brooks. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the show, because I'm so excited to talk about taking the mystery out of mentoring. But before we get into that, we had just heard from some incredible young women about being a millennial, about what they need from mentoring. What are your thoughts and feelings about what you heard? Dayna, let's start with you.
I would say, first of all, it was just super encouraging. Just hearing kind of where they're coming from, and their approach in the world is from a place of hope and wanting to be a part of something better. And what a privilege and honor it is to be able to come alongside someone who has a heart that way, that wants to grow, that wants to learn, that wants to make a difference. What an incredible thing you can do to invest in that person. It's not just spending time and energy, but an investment, because they want to invest. So that was really encouraging to me.
Yeah, that's good. Jane?
I found it very informative. Certainly, they let us into their world. For those of us who are on the outside looking in, it was so helpful to know what they feel, what they think, and just how they process what they experience, especially for some of us who are older.
Just a little older. Okay, just a little. Okay.
Just a little bit. I was really moved by how teachable they are. They want to learn, and I think sometimes from us older crowd, we don't necessarily know that that's how they feel, and so we might hold back some of the things we might want to share. So I really love the intentionality around it, and asking rather than us just telling it on them. So that was really encouraging for me.
So Erica, Allison, and Kristen just sharing about, wow, we just want you to trust us. We want you to show compassion. We want you to listen. We want you to call us to more. I mean, that even empowers and excites me, because I can do that. So I agree. All of that you said, listening to those young women, I'm like, okay, we can do this and we should do it. There's no reason why we shouldn't step into mentoring and helping them in their journey. Well, let's just ask, and again, meeting you three for the first time, were you mentored? So right now, I know that you are mentoring, and we're going to get into that. But were you mentored? And if so, what was the benefit? And if not, how do you think that impacted you in your life? So at least let's start with you.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I didn't start being formally mentored until I was 35, and I think that was a huge mistake on my part. I honestly didn't even know what it meant until then. And I don't know why I didn't know until then. I think it was because I didn't have a teachable spirit, honestly. And so when I first heard about the concept or the idea of it, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And I thought, yes, I need to do this. So prayed about who could be my mentor, and then prayed who I could mentor. And that's how it came to be for me.
Okay, good. Jane?
That's a very loaded question.
It is.
Because mentoring is not just, a general term. You can be mentored as a mother. You can be mentored professionally, spiritual mentoring, marriage mentoring. So mentoring is really a spectrum. It's a huge portfolio. And so I would say I was definitely mentored spiritually. Someone actually walked with me and taught me the values of the spiritual disciplines. But I would have to say, for example, like financial mentor, I didn't have one. I've had to figure that out. So I'd say I've had sections of my life, and people walk with me in different aspects of my life and mentored me, both formally and informally.
That's good. And thank you for saying that as part of the spectrum, because sometimes people think it's just mentoring, like as an overall, of your life. But I think it's really good to hear that it can be different parts. It's good. Dayna.
I'd say yes. I've always sort of looked at mentoring as having folks that are your coach and cheerleader in life. So as a coach, they see the skills and abilities that you bring and the giftings that you might have been given, and they help you to either figure those out or know how to use them or to get stronger in them. And then the cheerleading part, that someone's always got your back. And I've had a number of people in my life that have done that, whether it's as a mom or in the workplace or spiritually or in all kinds of ways. And just really somebody that knows you, that knows all of the silly things about you and all the wonderful things about you. Just having that coach and cheerleader, I've had lots of them.
It's perfect, Dayna, as a segue, because I think maybe we should define mentoring. Because some people are like, is it apprenticeship? What is mentoring? Because I think there's different definitions depending on, where you're at, whether it's workplace, at the church, in your community. What would you three say how you would define what mentoring is?
For me, it's about intentionality.
Okay.
I really think it's something that you have to put your mind to. I think it can happen without that intentionality, but I don't think it's true mentoring unless it is intentional. That's my personal opinion. Because I think that if it happens by happenstance, that's great. That's, maybe that's great. But if you're not getting together regularly, if you're not being intentional about what you want to learn about. Sometimes people say, oh, will you mentor me? It's like, well, what do you want to be mentored in? Mm-hmm. Okay, yes, I can do that. Okay, no, I actually can't do that. So it's the intentionality of the ask and then also what it's about.
Yeah, that's good.
The word mentor is really a person who is wiser and will make you think, from the word mentors. And so I think anywhere we have the opportunity to challenge someone's thinking towards growth, that really is mentoring. So you could even mentor a shop steward in just what they're doing and handling customers. And it's just a one-time informal situation versus walking with a young married woman in their journey and different seasons of life. So I think for me, if you have an opportunity to make someone think and grow out of that, then you're mentoring.
Mm-hmm, that's good. Now, Dayna, you mentioned about cheerleading and that. Is there another expansion of your definition of mentoring?
Yeah, I think even thinking of how the young ladies were speaking earlier about, you asked the question, manager or mentor, what are they looking for? And I think managers really want you to think the way they think, to process the way they process. And a leader or a mentor is really about understanding how that person thinks and how they're wired and releasing that, rather than if I think about a shepherd and a sheep. A manager wants to make sure the sheep get into the pen. The shepherd wants to know the sheep and know how to lead them. And that's a very different relationship. So when I think about mentoring, it's really not about me being understood. It's about me understanding that person and being able to help them understand themselves, how they've been gifted, how they can use those giftings. So I think it's a very different perspective in terms of how you lead that person, whether you're managing them or mentoring them.
That's good. I've never heard that, Dayna, about the shepherd, and managing and then mentoring. Like it's one thing about like sort of like getting them in there, but you're talking getting to know them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, how's your wool? Sorry.
It's very itchy.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
How's your wool?
I know. It just like came to me, this most random thing. Okay, sorry. Oh, sorry. It just happens. My brain can be in those places. Okay, that's so good. Okay. So no. So you've all been mentored in different ways. We've defined mentorship, but now let's talk about you as women who are mentoring. Okay, first of all, why? Like, you're busy? Okay, Jane just goes, did you just like,
She snorted.
She snorted? Not that this is like national television and for the whole world to hear, Jane, but that was great. That was perfect. Because when I said, like, why, let's talk about that. So you're busy women, and you've chosen to mentor. Why and what does that look like in a very practical way?
I think that it goes back to the intentionality, but it's also, for me, it's about prayer. It's who does God want me to mentor and who does God want me to ask who should mentor me. So I just spend a lot of time praying about it, and then God will bring someone to my mind, or God will take someone from my mind, or he'll bring someone to me. And that's even how this whole thing started, was strictly by praying about, should I be part of this program? And will someone want me to mentor them? Because that's not how I've done it historically. I've not been part of the program. It's been really kind of organic. And so when the mentee came to me and said, will you be my mentor? I was like, oh, okay, this is what I've been praying about. That's how I knew it was right.
So what does it look like for you, Lisa? Like, what does the relationship look like?
Specifically, we meet once a month. Okay. We set our timer. I set the timer. And it goes off 5 minutes before we're done, because we want to make sure we pray. And we want to make sure we pray with each other and out loud. And that gives us time to remember to do that. Okay. So we don't go over, because we want to value each other's time. The onus is on the mentee, in my opinion. So my mentee was always making sure we could still meet. But we set all of our meetings for the last 15 months, 15 months ago. They have been in our calendar for every month for 15 months. Wow. So we counted on it, and we knew it was going to happen. And sure, there's flexibility, and we changed if we needed to. But we knew we could always count on it happening. And so that was really important, both for me and for her. And the other thing it looks like for me is praying in between those meetings and checking in, not all the time, but checking in with what feels natural, but not too much where it feels like this, overpowered relationship.
You are very intentional.
Yes.
Clearly. But you know what? That's good. And you know what? That works for people. I mean, some people want it a little bit more, I'll be honest, a little bit more informal. It's more like casual, call me up, I'm free. But for you, and I think there's a lot of women who would say, no, I actually, because of my schedule, I need a very clear, very intentional time in the calendar for 15 months before.
Yeah,
and
I just can't do it any other way.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that you speak for a lot of women, and that's the way it works. And I think for a lot of women, like, whew, it doesn't have to be informal where it's like loosey-goosey and I get a call. For a lot of women, that's really important. I think that you've encouraged them to say, that's how mentoring can look. Let's make the plan. Let's put on the timer. We're very clear. It's very concise. We have like where we're heading. That's excellent. It's really good. Thanks, Lisa. Jane, for you, why mentoring? And then what does your mentoring relationship look like?
It's stewardship. It's stewarding my experiences and recognizing that I have something to give to the next generation. I have gone through seasons of life. I have learned things. So basically what I'm doing is I'm opening my treasure trove of experiences, both the good and the difficult ones, and saying, this is what happened when I was there. And being okay with recognizing that I'm not yet, God is not done with me yet. He's still working on me. And so I can be okay with being not okay. I think what makes mentoring difficult sometimes is because we almost feel like we need to be the model to which they need to follow. And in the area that we're mentoring in. But what I have learned is that in Christ, I have enough to give back. I think it's important for us to, as older women, to recognize that there are things we have learned that we can certainly pass on to the next generation.
And are you more informal or very intentional in your mentoring?
I'd have to say it's both.
Okay.
I've had sessions when we actually do have a very specific thing that we're following up and talking about. And sometimes it's just being in each other's presence. Yeah. And so I do invite my mentees into my life, whether it's work or it's in my own family. And because it's also friendship, like it's hard to mentor someone you're not friends with or you don't like.
For all the people out here, they're like, oh shoot, does my mentor like me? Okay, hold on. I remember that day when Okay, sorry, Jane. I'm just saying, I think you got people thinking. But I know what you're saying, though. Because I think there's got to be some kind of like connection, chemistry.
Yeah, there has to be
100%,
chemistry.
100%.
And I think it's okay to be okay that it's not working too.
Yeah.
Because like I think formal for me would be too much. I like the informal. I like you to find me without my makeup and to see me when I'm in my most vulnerable. And that is in itself teaching. It is mentoring.
That's awesome. Did I hear clap? Was there clapping? I heard some a little bit like clapping. That's why I love a live audience. Amazing. Dayna, for you.
I've always learned far more from the folks that I've spent time with than anything that I'm sharing with them. My own personal growth has always come in the context of relationships. So why would I not? Is kind of, I would push back and say, why wouldn't we? Right. I also think too, to your point about good stewardship, I've had 52 years around the sun of people pouring their life into me. It's like a cup of water, a cup of water, a cup of water. And if I just keep filling that well and I let it just sit there, still water is stale water and it's murky and it stops reflecting and it stops having a purpose. So there's an ownership to pour that water back out and keep having that water pour back in. So it's a relationship, it's a give and a take. And I've never, ever given more than I've gotten back. Wow. It's just full.
It's all about relationship. You know, I think that's the thing. I think sometimes we've made mentoring like this something out here that's like, and scary, but it's actually at the core of it, it is relationship. That's so good.
And on the whether it's formal or informal, I'd say I agree with you that it's both. It's like any other relationship that I have in my life. You have to make time for it. You have to put it on the calendar and prioritize it, but it just feels so good.
Yeah.
Season 8 is all about getting to know you, the See Her Love community. Here are 4 ways to connect. Number 1, watch See Her Love anytime and anywhere on YouTube and Castle Media. Number 2, listen to the See Her Love podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Number 3, engage by visiting seeherlove.com or my personal favorite, follow @SeeHerLove on Instagram. Finally, number 4, give to See Her Love and Crossroads by visiting seeherlove.com/give.
Hey everybody, it's Melinda,
Krista, Alita,
and join us on our first ever See Hear Love 4-part series on a conversation about the book of Philippians. And we're going to learn amazing things like
living in community,
what it looks like to live a generous life, living with confidence,
and living out your faith.
So grab your girlfriends, download our study guide on seeherlove.com, and join us on Yes TV, Spotify, YouTube, and on our social media platforms. Grab your girlfriends, and we can't wait for you to join us soon. I wasn't always a TV host and executive producer, and I didn't always have a platform for my voice. And if it weren't for courageous leaders who mentored me, who took a chance on me, who gave me opportunities to lead, who allowed my voice to be heard, who believed in the gifts and passion God has given me, if it weren't for them, not only would See Hear Love not exist today, but neither would the thousands of diverse voices worldwide who, thanks to your support, are choosing lives of justice, love, kindness, inclusion, and courage. And this is only made possible by viewers, listeners, and supporters like you, leaders like you. There is no limit to the millennials and so many others we can reach with God's transformative love and the truth that they are seen, heard, and deeply loved by God. Our community needs you. We need your leadership, your wisdom, your perspective, your voice. We need you. Donate today. Visit seeherlove.com/give. You know, this theme of this show is about taking the mystery out of mentoring. So there are a lot of women that are not mentoring. And there are a lot of women who are just like, I can't do it. So let's say this. What do you think is keeping many women from mentoring? Give me 1 or 2, okay, from each of you. And then what is our advice to the women who are still on the fence or just like, to then make the step towards mentoring? Lisa?
I think that sometimes I feel nervous that someone may not want to know my opinion about something, or if they want me to speak into their life. That's one of the scariest things for me, to be completely vulnerable with everybody here. It's like, if I'm going to take the time and spend time with someone, I really want to know that they're going to value that as much as I am.
There it is, okay.
It's the value.
It's the value.
And
Yep.
so that's why the casual side of it is still great, but for me, it isn't as great, because I want to make sure that it's like mutual, and that they really do value what I can bring, because I want to value what they bring, and so it's mutual.
Lisa, that's really good. Like, it's the value piece. Like, I don't want to just do mentoring for the sake of mentoring, and
because that's coaching,
right?
You know, and not that that's it's different, but mentoring is more of that special relationship.
Yep.
Coaching is a different kind of intentionality.
Okay, Jane, why do you think women are not mentoring? What's the fear? What's happening?
I think it's time. One of them is time. We have become so busy, and when you look at your schedule or you look at your commitments, sometimes you just find that you don't have any more time to put in your calendar. You actually want to take things off your calendar, not add things to your calendar. The other thing is the fear of the scars. I think in areas where we're still growing, you feel like I'm not there yet. I'm not ready to mentor. I'm not an expert in this area, and so we hold back. And I think sometimes growth happens when we do pour out, like Dayna was saying, that, you know, how full does your cup have to be before you begin to feel like you can pour into somebody else? And sometimes that quarter cup is enough for you to start pouring into somebody else. We don't have to wait until it's completely full and overflowing,
Right.
and because we might never get there.
Right. Okay, so that's good. So we've got value, and we've got time, and did you say scars? The scars. Wow. So the scars that we have keep us back from giving to somebody else.
And you know, again, mentoring has so many dimensions, and I'm thinking, for example, if someone has a difficult marriage, opening that door or opening that area of their life would hesitate, because you almost feel like you're being an imposter, or you're a counterfeit, or even a hypocrite, because you're not there yet.
Right.
And the same thing with our spiritual life. We feel like, I'm not yet there with Christ, so I cannot really begin telling people about Christ. I just messed up yesterday, or just messed up this morning. And I think that kind of holds us back from, and maybe I need to go for more Bible studies or more conferences, or I need more coaching. And so we are still working on ourselves, and really sometimes growth comes when we are not there yet.
That's good. Dayna?
I would say pride. I think that gets in the way. I think that pride is the enemy of humility, and in order to sit in front of someone knowing full well that you haven't got it all figured out, that your life isn't a perfect little box, takes a great deal of humility. And we can get, maybe it's false pride, but prideful, like, I will do this when I look good and I sound good and all the stories are good and all of my T's are crossed and all my I's are dotted. And so I think our pride can really get in the way of us being vulnerable and being available to people. We're in self-preservation mode, you know, and I think that really can get in the way. A verse that kind of comes to mind that helps me when I'm thinking about spending time with someone, 2 Corinthians, I believe it's 9:12, my grace is sufficient. I am made strong in your weakness. And so our ability to be weak in front of someone means we're going to grow with them. And I think that allows people to actually connect with us and not just stand back and think, oh, that person's got it all figured out. I will never be able to do what they're doing because I'll never be what they are. And so that ability to reach that next generation stops there, because we give this image of perfection that is not genuine and it's not attainable. So I think pride.
Pride, time, scars, value. So those are, I would say, most women in here and women listening are probably like, yep, totally. You know, I was mentored throughout my entire life, and I'm here because I was mentored. And I was young, and women and men took a chance on me. They saw the potential. and said, we're going to invest. And some of it was formal, and some of it was very just, I'm going to do life with you. And I would not be here if it wasn't for mentors. Because how I saw myself, how I spoke to myself, I would have never risen and been called for more if it wasn't for especially women who said, I see you and I see the potential and I believe God has a plan for you. Now go. Slay, girl, slay. Like it literally was that. And I'm saying more women need to say that because, you know, we are so hard on ourselves. And society has been hard on what we should look like, how we should be. And so I really appreciate, you know, what you're saying because those things hold us back, but we need to kind of like shatter those and move forward. So let's end the show with some encouragement to some women who are sitting in that place. Maybe it's pride, maybe it's time, maybe I just want to ensure that I'm you know, valued. What would you say to them to make that first step to say, I'm going to choose to be in a younger woman's life. I'm going to choose to call more out of them. I'm going to choose to be in relationship. What would you say? Dayna, let's start with you.
I just say, why not? If God's put someone in your path, He has a perfect plan and it's His perfect timing. I've never, you know, we think we're on our own clock, but really not. So if God's laid someone on your heart, put someone in your path, why not?
So why not? Why not? Why not? Okay.
The next generation needs it. They need to hear that they are loved, that they can do it, and they have something to offer. And I think what mentoring really does is it helps you elevate and lift others. And when you lift others, you're lifted up as well. So, you know, it comes back. What you give out comes back. It's you're sowing into someone's life, you will reap a reward.
So good, Jane. Thanks. Lisa?
Yeah, I think it's to share God's faithfulness. You know, we go through so much, men and women. And someone was saying earlier in another show, life is hard. It's really hard. And so to be able to do that really closely with someone and then remind each other about how God is so faithful. You were just sharing about that. I have experienced that as well. And so it's to celebrate that.
I just want to go out and mentor like 1,000 women now. Anybody else with me? Anybody else with me? No, amazing. First of all, I want to say thank you. Thank you for choosing to be in young women's lives. That is legacy, right? That is hope. That's just good. And I think the call of what God is asking us as women, that He has been faithful to us, and we have received so much grace from Him. So we just need to like pour that back out to other women. We can't hold it. We can't hoard it. It needs to be sort of this overflow of abundance of that. And so thank you, Dayna, Jane, Lisa. Thank you. Thank you for the good work you're doing. Thank you for your faithfulness to God. And I so appreciate your thoughts. And so thank you so much. We're cheering you on. We're cheering them on, right? All right. Thank you, thank you. And to you, our viewer and listener, I hope you're inspired by Dayna, Jane, and Lisa. I hope that if you're on the fence of mentoring, get off of it. It's time. It's time to give of your life. It's time to share what God is doing. And wow, imagine what your words and presence will do for a young woman today. So do it now. For more information, go to seeherlove.com. And know, as you do, you are seen, you are heard, and you are deeply, deeply loved by God. Thank you for joining us in beautiful Whistler, British Columbia at the Leverage Women's Conference. Woo! Good job. Woo!
See Hear Love thanks our partners who make this show possible.
Thank you for your ongoing support of Crossroads, a supporter-funded, nonprofit organization and member of the Canadian Centre for Christian Charities. Thanks to faithful people like you, we are able to continue producing See Hear Love. You can write to Crossroads, P.O. Box 5100, Burlington, Ontario, L7R 4M2, or visit crossroads.ca to learn more about our programs.